The gentleman yields back. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes. Ms. Cohen, you said you contacted 14,000 veterans? Is that right? 14,200 something? Your testimony?
Thank you for that. Let me just.
So I believe page 2 out of 11 of your written testimony. The answer is yes. So,
Yes.
okay,
I'm sorry.
so you've contacted 14,000 out of how many?
Thank you for that question, and that's specific to VHA, and I will turn that over to my colleague, Ms. DeBoard.
All right.
Thank you for that question, and thank you, Ms. Cohen. So you're speaking, Representative, to the VA Liaison for Healthcare program?
Yes.
Yes. In my humble opinion, a best practice for transitioning veteran service members.
100% you're not answering the question I asked. I said you contacted 14,000 according to Ms. Cohen's testimony. Out of how many?
Out of
The
the
answer is
200,000 that would
That's
have been.
0.07%. Okay, where I come from, that's failure. I certainly would not come up here in front of this committee and tout that as a good number. That's horrible. It's 0.07%. Ms. Orsega, I wrote a letter. It's really detailed, fancy words and stuff about the GAO report, a whole bunch of things. And I asked this series of questions. There's 9 of them, very detailed. How does the Department of Defense plan to revise transition assistance criteria? How does DoD plan to modify outreach? DoD to coordinate, blah, 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 all this stuff. We're like super detailed, right? Here's the response. And I will ask unanimous consent that these are both entered into the record without objection, so ordered. The department agrees with the recommendations provided by the GAO report and is currently assessing the feasibility and resources needed to implement the actions and procedures required to adequately address the GAO recommendations. Now, the only thing missing from this is some ranch dressing, because that is straight up word salad. This means nothing, okay? I don't know how many 40-pound brains it took to write that sentence, but it has nothing to do with these very detailed and specific questions that were asked that pertained to one of the most important things we can possibly do, which is transition someone from a productive member of the uniformed services to a productive member of the civilian community. This is wholly unacceptable. And when Mr. McGarvey is asking you a question, you blew him off too. The Navy is not a person. It's not. So when you say, I'm gonna take it back, to who? So I was a command career counselor for 2 different commands. And I told everybody, if you're gonna get out of the service, you don't talk to anybody but me. And I set them up for success as a civilian in a very open way and did everything. And I had a 100% retention rate because I truthfully looked at these servicemen and women and said, you wanna stay, that's great. You don't, that's great too, let's help you out. So the Department of Defense, writ large, is failing our service members, and you know it. You absolutely know it. You said that this is your testimony. You're not responsible for the TAP program, but you're responsible for the policies that inform the Transition Assistance Program. That doesn't mean anything. It literally means nothing. So these people, you got 7 bosses. So doctrinally, you should have, 6 to 9 direct reports talking to you. You shouldn't have 7 people telling you what to do. And this is just wholly unacceptable. So the culture of the Department of Defense is such, from my direct observation. The DoD recruiting is horrible now, worse since the Vietnam War. And they think if they give our service members a smooth transition to the civilian world, it's going to increase people getting out of the service. That's been proven wrong by naval special warfare. So we have got to do something, and it sure as heck is not this man. So I'm going to print this for you, and I'd like you to take this, get me answers back, and then I want the names of every single person you're going to bring this to in every one of the uniformed services. And I'd like that by the end of the month. Now, my time has expired, and out of respect for my colleagues, I know that Mr. Levin has got some more questions. We will do a second round of questioning. So I will yield back, and I recognize Ranking Member Levin for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Director Hundrup, I'm going to pick up right where we left off.